Welcome to Eagles Haven Ministry at the upper room on this Shabbat. We finally got some rain and a little storm here, and we appreciate Yahuwah hearing our petitions to bring some rain. Even though it's a little radioactive rain from the ocean, we appreciate some rain, and we just don't play in it anymore. So I welcome you to Eagles Haven channel as well, Eliyahu channel, and Eagles Haven 1 channel on YouTube, EliyahuChannel.com. Greetings and shalom to all the mishporka of the house of Yisrael and all sojourners, the goyim coming back home, and the goy, the ones that are being grafted into the house of Israel. I come to you today in the Shem of the Ruach of Yahuwah, Yahushua HaMashiach, to literally share with you a title of a message called The Fruit of the Ruach HaKodesh versus Bad Religious Fruit. And with this, we want to start off and just welcome the presence of the Ruach of Yahuwah into the atmosphere, into this place, in the Shem of Yahuwah and Yahushua HaMashiach. And I want to start off and share that, first of all, as we come before you very humbly and sensitively, reverently, that we have the opportunity to share with you and teach you the Torah, the Tanakh, Brit Kadasha, and to reveal the whole understanding, not to add or take away from the scriptures, which is happening quite a bit. We have in the Christian community a lot of adding to. And then you have in the house of Yisrael, the followers of Yahuwah, and other groups popping up here and there that are taking away and leaving out some of the things, thinking that some of the protocols of the understanding of leadership is something out of Christianity when it is a Hebrew thing. Say with me, a Hebrew thing is a leadership thing. It's part of the house of Israel, the way He appointed it from Abraham, Ishak, and Yaakov. I want to share with you a little bit before we begin that Eagles Haven Ministry, where I'm visiting right now in Banning, California, is that Eagles Haven Ministry, even before it come under the fullness of the true name, when we were like a messianic group, we still had their shofars, we were blowing shofars. We used to be a city sweepers, mappers of areas and district. People used to come to me, and we had a group of over 12, sometimes 10, sometimes 14, spiritual warfare people, and we mapped Hollywood. We mapped North Hollywood. We mapped Anaheim Hills, Orange County. We mapped Garden Grove. We mapped certain areas of these small area cities where we used to pray against the strongholds of the porn industry, the movie industry, and the effects, where they had the studios of special effects, where they edit and put all kinds of stuff in the music of production and ship a lot of it out to, not all, but some of it to 666 Fifth Avenue in New York City for the final acceptance of the product to go out in the music or movies or commercials or certain effects of movies going through those particular pecking orders. Even in the cult, they have a pecking order, a protocol that they follow in order to prosper in their evil. The problem is that the house of Yisrael is like a time of Gideon. It needs to be gathered under a Gideon and go forth with full authority, with blowing the shofars, breaking the lanterns, and marching forth and going forth against the armies of the enemies of Yahuwah. Eagles Haven Ministry has two major scriptures that we stand on, and we still stand on them. Some people try to say the eagle is a bad example. Haven is a clean word. Eagle is a clean word. It's an unclean animal to eat. But it is also one of the faces of the four living creature. The four living creatures that have four faces in the scriptures. Okay? So there is a representation of spiritual attributes that we need to understand. So I'm going to start off and read two quick scriptures before we start off in this message to let you know that we're still the same. We're still spiritual warfare people. We still cast out devils and put green blood on our spiritual swords, slaying the wickedness, and the other side of our sword, doing surgical healing in an ER, spiritual ER, in the upper room to minister to people. We still blow the shabar and cast down strongholds in the region of the masons that set up pillars and columns in different areas. We need to go into another level, we know, of destroying it physically instead of just doing it spiritually. And we are becoming bold to step in that type of region, in that type of area, the way it was in the days of the word of Yahuwah. Because just praying about it ain't going to do it. It has to have a physical act as well to destroy these forces of darkness in the Shem of Yahushua. I'm going to read to you starting from Isaiah or Yeshayahu chapter 40 verse 31. And we're going to read actually from I'm going to read verse, let's see, I'll start from verse 28. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The everlasting Aloha, Yahuwah, the creator of the ends of the earth, neither faints nor is weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the weak, and to those who have no might, he increases their strength. From the youth shall faint, even the youth, will faint and be weary. And the young men shall utterly fall. But those who wait upon Yahuwah shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. Mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. This is one of the scriptures by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses that we stand and name this ministry. We could have named it some Hebrew name. We could have called it Baruch Shem or Baruch this or Shem that. But we stayed with it because the ministry is always known in spiritual warfare. Eagles that fly at an altitude and look down, spot the enemy, and destroy it spiritually. Okay? So the other one is in Hosea 8:1. Hosea 8:1 is another confirmation. And this is the other side of this ministry of Eagles Haven, which you need to understand. Especially as we come into the revelation knowledge of taking in the name and cleaning our vocabulary and tongue of all the pagan words. It says in verse 1 of chapter 8, put a shofar to your mouth like an eagle against the house of Yahuwah, because they have transgressed my covenant and they have rebelled against my Torah. How did they have rebelled? The house of Israel. How have they rebelled? The house of Yahuwah. They have grafted in themselves and embraced more of Kabbalism, embraced more of the oral Talmud Torah, the Babylon oral Torah they call law, or the Babylon oral, or the Jerusalem oral type of Kabbalist or Torah. It's an oral addition of information. Like I said in my other teachings, not all of it is bad, but not all of it is good either. It's got a lot of stuff, mystic stuff in it, and I advise you to stay just in the Tanakh, 100% in the Word, and study to show yourself approved with all the foundation that we need. Okay? And it says in verse 2 and 3, they cry out to me, my Elohim, Eloah, we, Israel, know you. Israel has rejected what is Tob, and enemy pursues him. So, we're speaking about the house of Israel. We're speaking about the house of Yahuwah has been contaminated with this Kabbalism and also the contamination of oral information, add-on information. And that's what Eagles Haven, why we use the word eagle and a haven up here, to be a haven in the feast, to be a haven in Shabbat, and a haven of understanding of the Torah and teaching and also delivering people in this ministry. Now, let's begin the message, the fruit of the Ruach HaKodesh versus the bad religious fruit of the past and our day today. Go with me to Matthew chapter 7, verse 12. You see, we were noticing, even when we were in the messianic type of walk, belief system, the borderline of the Christian community and the extension of the Torah, but it was still a lot of stuff there we needed to get rid of, especially the pagan words. This is what you need to understand. And I speak to you that watching that are mature, or you link this and send it to your teachers, instructors, overseers, people that call themselves pastors or shepherds or evangelists. There's still some calling themselves apostles, which is a Latin word for the Roman Apostolic Catholic Church. I'd rather shiliach, I'd rather use the word ambassador or emissary because of the root understanding why they labeled that word specifically, that word apostolico or apostolic. So you need to come to an understanding of the revelation of it with the fullness of the Ruach of Yahuwah. I don't use those words because they have phonetic sounds. They have phonetic sounds that release information, vibrations. And the cult world, they know about phonetic sounds. Even in Buddhism or Hinduism and other cults, they do vibrations and they do sound vibrations to summon spirits. They use bright colors and the different multiple colors of flags that the demons could see it and be drawn. They beat the cymbals or the drums at a certain beat and sound of cymbals because they can't hear good and they draw to it. That's another message that demons can't hear good, can't see good, and can't smell good. So they need strong incense, strong sounds, and strong vibrations to summon it. So I want you to know this, that what we're about to share with you, there's a lot of things that have been hitchhiked into the house of Yahuwah, into the house of Yisrael. There's stuff that has been with baggage and garbage has come in. They're learning the knowledge of the understanding of the Shem, of Avinu, our father, of Abba, but also and his ben Yahushua. They're having a basic knowledge and they're learning the feasts and the Torahs and Hebrew words, but they're still using the paganistic deity names of grace, mercy, Gloria, the cruz, which that word's not even invented in Latin until the year 1200. They're using words of all the pagan deities of goddess charismatica, goddess charis, all these pagan words that in the cult world they release them. They release these principalities over people and with enchantments or invokements of speaking the words out into the atmosphere. So those things need to be cast out of our tongue. They are not definitions of characters of words. They are real title words. We emphasize at Eagles Haven tremendously concerning the word G-O-D. A lot of the followers of Yahuwah continue to use the word G-O-D. The one that's on the dollar bill, that's a German, it's not a title. It is not a title like father, shepherd, mother. It is not. It is the name of a German deity, good. It's a German deity. In Anglo-Saxon, it was good, and in the written language of the Germanic tongue, it was G-O-D-D, and one was G-O-T-T, gut. So, but they're all under the land of Ing, the land of Ing, the deity of Ing, they call England today. So, those phonetic sounds, they're still saying them. How could you call on the name of Yahuwah and Yahushua and you're still calling on these? I'm talking about to the mature brothers. I'm talking about the baby people that are just learning, and we're just learning to cleanse our tongue like brushing our teeth properly. We're just getting stuff out with a nice pick, getting all that junk out of our lives and our mouth and our thinking and cleaning it and renewing our minds with the renewing of the washing of the word of the Torah, the Tanakh, and Brit Kadasha. So, to you, I share with you some things right now. That's part of it. Cleansing your mind and your tongue from the pagan words is part of it. To clean up your act in your prayers and your intercession, or going into having authority jurisdictionally in territories of principalities like we used to do with teams in Hollywood, North Hollywood, Sun Valley, and all those areas where we used to minister and mark all the movie production studios and all the occult studios and all the porn studios and go against it and cast it down and command it to come down. And believe me, there was times I wanted to throw cocktail bombs in those places where there's child porn and everything, to do it physically. But we would pray and intercede and blow shofars, and the Father would shut it down and hear our petitions and open the eyes of certain investigators and shut them down because of our prayers, taking the veils of blinders off the community. So, what we're about to read this morning is to understand the good fruit and bad fruit, and how there's still stinking bad fruit in our particular area of the followers of Yahuwah. When you say the word mellifluous, or the word mellow, or the word ripe, that fruit is ripe to eat. Well, the word ripe or mellow, those words are for the descriptions of the agriculture of food, is that they're almost rotten but ready to eat. Okay? So there's certain words we use and we don't realize they're on the rotten side, but they're ready to eat. Okay? And you wait any longer, it's going to be bad fruit. But we're going to understand how there's believers in Yahuwah that have come in from different religious backgrounds. They come in from Mormonism, Seventh-day Adventists, all forms of the different denominations, which I call Catholic parishes of the Reformation offshoots, the harlot daughter religions, the harlot daughters with the fake trick pimp name called Jesus. We don't follow that trick name anymore. We have Yahushua, his real name, and understand no more tricks. Because when it's time for you to come to the wedding supper, a bride knows the husband's name. She's not going to guess, oh, is your name this, your name that? Who are you? Or use a trick name. She's going to look him in the eye and know his name. Just like a bride to a husband. And there's no more faking it. This is the last times, end times of this time. The Father's put his information out there. We not only have the internet, we have so many books and material and literature. You can't no more deny it and hide it, that it's an evolution of words, and it's okay to use that trick name by the Jesuit Catholic Church, the Jesuit priests, and the Catholic mystics, and all their words of phonetic sounds to steal us from the true name of the Mashiach, Yahushua. You got to realize, according to Galatians, turned the ball around in the Hebrew mindset. So it's Galatians. Galut was a Hebrew tribe that was assimilated and separated from the city of Jerusalem. And that was where Jewish people, Greek-speaking, but they understand that in the future there'll be people preaching another Bezorah, not gospel, another German word. Gospel is a German word for the spell of the deity of the dollar bill called Gut. That's another pagan deity. So it's a principality. It's a fallen one. And the God is preaching the what? The Catholic Gespil? Come on, give me a break. And so it's Bezorah. It's good news. In clean English, in the first covenant, it was called good tidings. When you look it up under the Greek, under that you peel that plaster, that ugly peeling called Gespil off that word, you'll see a clean Greek word, and in English it would be good tidings or good news, just like the first covenant was talking about in the Naviim, the prophecies of Yeshayahu, Yirmiyahu, Yeshayael, and all the Navi will be speaking that they were preaching the good news even ahead of time back then of what's to come. Okay? So let's begin this message. In Matthew chapter 7, verse 12, it is written, "Therefore whatever you wish men to do to you, do also to them. For this is the Torah and the Hanavi." Now, I start on the verse 12 because I want you to let you know this. He's going to show you the right ruling of the Torah. It's not the word law. That's a Latin letter. Law is a Latin word, only $300-something years, in use. And it is a legalistic word that you see in politics in the courtrooms. It's a Latin word. Okay? In reality, it's supposed to be Torah or instructions and the Nabi. Now let's look at 13. Remember, this is the quotation of 12. Enter in through the narrow gate, because the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction. And there are many who enter in through it. Because the gate is narrow and the way is hard pressed, which leads to Haim, high in Hebrew. And there are few who find it. But beware of the false prophets or Navis who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are savagely wolves. By their fruits you should know them. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes, or, figs from thistles? So every good tree or tov tree yields tov fruit, but a rotten tree yields wicked fruit. A good tree is unable to yield wicked fruit, and a rotten tree to yield tov fruit. So vice versa, all truth is parallel. Every tree that does not bear tov fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. So then, by their fruits you should know them. Not everyone who says to me, Yahuwah, Yahuwah, shall enter in the reign of the Shamayim, but he who is doing the desire of my Abba, my Avinu, in the Shamayims. Many shall say to me in that day, Yahuwah, Yahuwah, have we not prophesied or Naviim in your Shem, and cast out devils in your Shem, and done many mighty works in your Shem? And then I shall declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who work iniquity or lawlessness. The proper word in the Greek is the word translated in English, lawlessness. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and does them, not just hear them, but apply them, teachable, correctable, sensible man of spirit, apply them and does them, shall be like Chokmah, prudence of understanding man, who built his house on the rock. You might wonder, why didn't he use the word wise? Wise is a British word from the ancient language in German. It is wise, wiser, or wizard. It is not the clean word. It's somebody that goes in a room and makes a concoction with cunning, crafty understanding, and he can be seduced by spirits. So we're going to use the clean word in English, prudence, understanding, or in Hebrew, a more powerful word that downloads from the Ruach. It's called Chokmah. Say with me, Chokmah, there in the Ustream, if you're watching my DVD or Ustream. Now, use this scripture as the basis. This is all Torah in the Navi, verse 12. And he runs down. This is Torah. If you are people of Yahuwah, and you're following the Torah and the Tanakh, Brit Kadasha, then you must understand from verse 12, he's about to tell you some guideline rules that we are supposed to use even today as new beginners, as Goy and Goyim and sojourners are grafted back into the house of Israel. I come to you as a representative of the house of Israel. I have to be grafted in just like everybody else, but even though my blood is Yisrael from my ancestries and sojourning, coming to this country through New York like everybody else did in the boat, but still I have to be grafted in. But I come in with that authority and that anointing of Abraham, Ishak, and Yaakov to let you know that this is Torah. He was quoting Torah, and this is right rule to watch the fruit of people, good and bad, and the characteristics of it. Let's keep reading. Let's go to chapter 13. Mark these verses down for further study and homework, or after you watch this message, watch it again. And even I myself, when I watch and edit these, I find myself learning more stuff and getting quickened of other information as well. Chapter 13, verse 23. And that sown on the good ground, I'm gonna kind of jump the gun. If you want to do better homework on it, read start in the beginning of chapter 13 because of time and the media. We're going to start at verse 23. And that sown on the good soil is he who hears the word and understands it, who indeed bears fruit and yields some 100-fold, and some 60, and some 30. Another parable he put before them, saying, the rain of Shamayim has become like a man who sowed tov seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tars or darnel, as it says in this translation, or tars or weeds among the wheat, and went away. And when the blade sprouted and bore fruit, then the darnel or the tares also appeared. Now, remember this. I've been on the fields of Texas and I've seen the difference from a dinar, a tar, and a good wheat. The good wheat is heavy and nourished with vitamins, and it bows down when it's ready and ripe to be harvested. The dinar or the tar stands straight up with pride and arrogance. It looks okay. It looks like it could be ground up, but it's just full of pride. It's full of iniquity. It's full of bad fruit. You can't eat it. It's not tov to eat. It's the one that's bowing down to the rising and the setting down of the sun. That's full of nourishment. And them that are bowing down to the Ben, Yahushua, that are full of his nourishment, are ripe for the harvest of these end times. It's not the arrogant, not the ones that know a lot. Some might say, well, Eagles Haven, they know a little bit, they know a lot, they know this, they know that. That's a different field. We're more in this and that. But I'm going to tell you this right now. If you still got Christian bad fruit from those denominations, of all that junk that have been hitchhiked in, carried in, and you never went in a room and cast that stuff out of yourself or have somebody pray for you, of a company of men, of elders, of believers, you still got hitchhiking stuff like a time bomb with a mechanism waiting for you to get a large crowd of people and then blow up. You'll find yourself in adultery, and in the mind and the eye, or physically. You'll find yourself in perversion, or you'll be one of those groups that marry multiple wives and you think you're scripturally sound and should be a part of leadership, when the scripture plainly says that every leader, every single leader, like we taught in that particular teaching on YouTube recently, has to be only the husband of one wife, period, if you want to be in leadership. If you don't, then sit in the back line with all your little wives and children. You know what I mean? But you're not going to be in leadership unless you're the husband of one wife, and the same thing for the women, the wife of one husband. Okay? That is the boundary line, prescribed instructions of the scripture of the Torah concerning the Brit Kadasha, the new beginnings of the new covenant. Okay? So with this understanding, let's go again. Let's go to Galatians chapter 6. This message was conceived by Brainstorm, Shepherd Chuck and I and us. We're saying, this is the hurting of the body of Yahuwah, the body of the Mashiach that's out there. They're coming out. They're coming together. They're trying. A lot of internet transplants. If you're a tree that's being transplanted a lot, you can't bear fruit. You have leaves. You look beautiful. You look big. You look knowledgeable, but you can't bear fruit. You got to be rooted and grounded somewhere to bear fruit. Okay? That's the same thing for us. In the Ruach Yahuwah, chapter 6, verse 2, it is written. Again, we begin. Bear one another's burdens, and so complete the Torah of Mashiach. And in this passage of Torah, it is the written Torah. It is actually the written Torah. It's not oral. It's not it's not justified. It is the written Torah. So he's about to tell you Torah right now. And don't add and take away. Excuse me. And if anyone thinks himself to be somebody when he is not, he deserves him. He deceives himself. But let each one examine his own work, and then he shall have boasting in himself alone, and not in another. For each one shall bear his own burden. Each one shall bear his own burden. And let him who is instructed in the Torah, or the word, the scriptures, shall in all that share in all that is tov with him, or good, with him who is instructing. Verse 7. Do not be led astray. Aloha, or Elohim, is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that shall he also reap. So if you're sowing corruption, or you got seeds from the different denominations of offshoot of the Catholic parishes called Christian denominations, or you came out of the New Age, or you came out of certain occult things, you still have bad seed that could be germinated, and you need to cast it out. You need to get that stuff. You need to want to be clean. Because in verse 8, because he who sows to his own flesh shall reap corruption from the flesh, but he who sows to the Ruach shall reap everlasting Hayim, or high, from the Ruach. And let us not lose heart in doing Tov, for in due season we shall reap if we do not grow weary. So then, as we have occasion, let us do Tov to all, especially to those who are of the household of the Emunah, or belief. In other words, especially those in the house of Israel, grafted in already. Ones coming in that are Goy, or the ones that are Goyim, sojourners starting to come in and learn. They know inside that the name, it's the revelation of the understanding of his Shem is in them. Let's back up a page and understand that what we sow in the flesh, we will reap in the flesh. What we sow in the Ruach, with the right ruling of the Torah, we will reap that. And we examine our own works, examine ourselves, and want prayer and desire it. We in this ministry do not have any of that. We already been there, done that. TV evangelists, all that garbage, and we seen the fruit of it. It stinks, it's throw up, all the facade, the makeup, the clothing, all the hoodwink garbage, and the pecking order of the Masons that are involved in that form of Christianity in those televised ministries. We got sick and tired of it. We're pulling our friends out. They're renouncing the Mason oaths of different degrees. Some of them are coming out of the occult. They're coming out of the New Age. They're coming into prayer. They're being delivered and prayed for in the true Shem of Yahushua HaMashiach. Let's go to chapter 5, verse 13. Same book. Galut, or Galatians, or Galatium. Chapter 5, verse 13. It is written, for you, brothers, have been called to freedom. Only do not use freedom as an occasion for the flesh, but through love serve one another. For the entire Torah, you hear this? We're going back to the Torah. This word is not law. That's only 300-something years old. If it's Latin, it will be L-E-W, Lu. You look at it in Spanish Bibles. Because the Roman Latin goes further back than that word into the English translation of the German translation. And he says, the entire Torah is complete in one word, in this: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. But if you bite and devour one another, beware lest you be consumed by one another. I'm saying this to you of the followers of the house of Yisrael that are Goy and Goyim coming in and getting grafted in. We need to unite and understand the revelation of a Hebrew mindset of Torah and the Hanavi, the right ruling of understanding that they distributed through the first, second, third, and fourth, and now we're in the fifth covenant they call the new covenant. As we're walking in the covenant of our Hebrew Messiah that shed his blood as the lamb on that stake, on that pole, on that, I call a knife to the head of Nephilim's skull on Golgotha. I pray right now that you would come to a revelation that we got to stop all this bickering, all this little childish stuff, but you're still using, most of you guys are arguing with each other, and then I watch you, and you're still using pagan words in between your conversation. You're using the goddesses, the different pagan goddesses of the German language from Martin Luther and Wycliffe and Tyndale, all grafted into your Rasmus, what we call the Reformation's King James scriptures, and then translating those scriptures into a modern type of maybe passable scriptures to read. But they're still reading those pagan words. They got to be cleaned up. And then you're arguing with each other, and you're like, man, both you guys got some right, and you got some wrong, but you're both speaking these pagan deities out in the atmosphere, and you think you got a trophy to shine? You got busted grape to shine. We need to come humbly to the Shem of Yahushua and get ourselves clean. I tell my friends, we have to step back. Even from the media for a while. I had to do that. I had to step back from making YouTube and other stuff and to look at myself in the mirror of the perfect Torah of freedom and say, I need to clean up some more before I step back in. And then I had to pull my videos out and re-edit them because of some stuff that I preached 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and clean them up or throw them away and start over. So we have to do that so we can have a right ruling in our walk. Verse 16, and I say, walk in the Ruach, and you shall not accomplish the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lust against the Ruach, and the Ruach is against the flesh. And these are opposed to each other, so that you do not do what you desire to do. But if you are led by the Ruach, you are not under the Torah instruction. Why? Because we're walking in the Ruach. If we're walking in the love and we're walking in the Ruach, it is written in our lab, our heart. And when it's written in your lab, you don't break it. It's automatic. Every step you do is automatic. Keeping Torah, keeping Torah, keeping Torah. You're not under the Torah like an oral law. You are what you call in it and with it, flowing. And there's none of that, the 10-word covenant or all the information that goes to the right ruling of the 10 marriage covenant. It's like if I love my wife, I have a marriage ketubah agreement with her. That means when I go to the store, I don't looky-loos to any woman. I don't lust. I don't touch. I don't do none of that because I have a covenant with my wife. It is automatic by love. And that's the way it's supposed to be in the right ruling. When you are walking in the Ruach of the love, he said, the right ruling of Torah, of loving one another, and you're walking in that right ruling, you would flow and keep the whole Torah, the covenant. Of course, we have an advocate if we mess up to come under the blood. But like I always said, you don't have to, when that vulture or that black bird lands on your shoulder to tempt you, you don't have to allow him to stay there and poop all over your shoulder. You can rebuke him and shoo him away. You can keep him from pooping on you if he tries to land on you and tempt you through your ear gate. But you don't have to entertain it. Then you have to clean your spiritual clothes up, so to say. Look in there. He says, now here are the works of the flesh are well known, which are these: adultery, whoring, uncleanness, indecency, idolatry, idol worship, even the idle tongues of speaking the pagan deity names and words, drugs, sorcery, hatred, quarrels, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions. Oh, I see a lot of that in the house of Yahuwah. Dissensions and factions. You're just about as bad as the Christians. Envy, murders, drunkenness, wild parties, and the like, of which I forewarn you, even as I also said before, that those who practice, you're practicing the art of being hypocritical or the art of hiding these things, such as these shall not inherit the reign of Elohim, but the fruit of the Ruach. Let's look at it. We looked at the bad, but before we go to the fruit of the good, I want to share this with you. And I share this to somebody out there in leadership. You see, there was a time, one time I was visited by a guy from the church of the church of the God. And he wanted me to go and share some things with him. And he sat me up front. I didn't want to sit up front. I don't like all that. I don't like that stuff. I like to sit with the normal people. All right? And I watched the service. I watched the worship team. I listened to their lead singers. Later on, he invited me to the back. The Ruach gave me a word for him, but I had to give it to him alone because the Father said there's pride. He might not accept it. Then he invited me out to dinner, and we went together. His wife took off with some of the ladies. It was just him and I. The Ruach set it up. And he said, brother, I submit myself to you in humble soul. Even though I got denominational overseers, bishops, and stuff like that. I know you're a Navi. I know you speak the word of Yahuwah. I need to know from you, what do you see in me? I need to clean up. I looked him in the eye and I said, behold, I see a man when he was young walking the streets. That man was a pimp, pimping women. When he got the word, he went out of prison and he started a congregation. And you got 90% women in this congregation. You still got a pimp spirit on you. He looked at me, he says, whoa! He started crying. He said, I've been praying and asking the Father for more men in the ministry and less women or married couples. And I said, I didn't realize I still had baggage pray for me, brother, right now. And we're in the back area, got oil, laid hands, cast the spirit of pimp, spirit out of them to use the cunning craftiness. Now let me explain what that means. There's a lot of followers of Yahuwah and the followers of Yah that have come in from their Christianity and their Catholic parishes called denominations, and they come in with all this New Age garbage and their charismatic spirits. First of all, when you see people say to a speaker that's in New Age, they're selling Monavi, they're selling some health product or something, they say, wow, that person has a charismatic about them. They're so good. They should be a preacher. And they'll bring many. What do you mean? We bring many to salvation through the anointing, not through a charismatic spirit, a female naked woman that seduces people to listen to the person that's going to sell the product. That's what charismatic is. Excuse me for a minute. So, when we were in the world, and some of you will recognize this, and you need to clean it up. When we were in the world, we used to be into witchcraft. Some of you were in witchcraft, but I'm talking about witchcraft. What is witchcraft? W-I-S-H. Wish. We used to go to parties or gatherings, and we see a girl, if you're a guy, or a girl sees a guy, and they say, oh, I wish he'd just look at me. I just want him to look at me. You're doing metaphysics with the mind. You're doing metaphysics with the mind. The demons are putting it in your head to get the person to collide, and the kinder spirit of wicked spirits would go and have a night together and share in their demonic intercourse of a kinder spirit of bearing witness one to another. Another one is this. I've used to know guys that could sell a TV set and won't even have one. I used to know guys that be on the street, sell cars with a registration without a pink slip. I said, how do they do that stuff? I mean, they had a witchcraft. What's witchcraft? Why, they're talking to the people, looking in their eyes, and they would present their product. They were in their brain, they were saying, buy it, buy it. That's wish and a craft they're practicing. They're practicing metaphysics of the mind. And then some of you have come into Christianity and still did the same. Oh, receive the J-Man. Oh, receive the J-Man. Oh, I need a big offering. I need a big offering in their brain. And they're projecting it while they quote a few verses to try to fleece the people. Oh, you tell me you didn't do that? Oh, come on now. I'm guilty with that. I had people pour a whole bottle of oil over me, over that garbage. So don't look at the other side of the screen and say you're innocent. All right? I'm looking you in the eye and I see myself in my past. Okay? Now, then, there's also this. You get people, you come to Yahuwah. You come to the right name. You come to Yahuwah and you get the right name. You find a few verses of convincing information. You're going to start a doctrine. And you get in a crowd. And in your brain, you're thinking, believe it. Believe it. This is right. In your brain, instead of present the word, pray, and everybody go away and come back if they're going to believe it or not. It's not. It's the Ruach that brings the unity of agreement. It is now the power of suggestion or the power of a charismatic spirit. Okay? It's a seducing female naked girl, and she has a trinity called grace, charis, or charismatica, charis, and charitias, where you get the money. That's what the Christian ministries are doing when they present their offering. They're operating in their charismatica trinity spirit to bring in all the thousands of dollars so they can fill up their jets and their gas tanks or their jets and stuff and their Rolls Royce and cars. Okay? So some of us have come out of that stuff. You might have been a deacon. You might have been an usher. You might have seen how they manipulated the money in the counter room. You might have seen all that manipulation going on and craft, and you never spoke up against it. I'm out of here. I'm not doing it. You might have came into the name, but you never asked forgiveness to Yahuwah and cleanse you with the blood for participating. For anybody that participates in a sinful deed is a part of the sinful deed, regardless if you were not the leadership or counting the money or using the money. You're participates of it. So, I'm getting down to the root of something here that needs to be healed and delivered in the house of Yahuwah. People are using the charismatic power of suggestion, mind over matter, metaphysics, to try to convince people in these different scattered doctrines. People try to convince each other with that type of thinking in their brain. And if you tell me you don't do it, you need to put yourself on check, because I had to learn how not to do it. I had to learn with a Ruach and a Kodesh attitude not to have the power of suggestion. Being in the past of my past, working in the mafia, working with the gangsters, and in and out of prisons, I used to be in courtrooms dressed in the Mason colors and do the signs, and with my mind and the power of suggestion look at the judge to see me do the Mason symbols in order to give me a lighter sentence. What do you think that is? That's magic tricks. That's witchcraft. I'm practicing a form of cunning craftiness. Okay? I had to renounce it. Then I had to clean my mind not to do it no more. And some of you are in the house of Yahuwah and are still using the power of suggestion instead of the Torah. Instead of just letting the Ruach of Yahuwah and the Ruach HaKodesh touch people with His love, and then tell them, just go away and pray about it, brother. Look at the verses and call me up and whenever you want and see if you're convinced of those scriptures. And let the Ruach do the work. Instead of wanting an answer right then, and then pounding, and doing the power of suggestion. That is witchcraft. And it needs to stop in the house of Yahuwah. I see some of you brothers on YouTube. You're great brothers. I love you. You're strong. You're vigor. You're violent for Yahuwah. You'll be the kind of guy I would like to go somewhere with a truck and late at night and tie on a sun pillar and pull it down. You go to the city hall and put a chain around the goddess Libertarius or the goddess Justice and pull it down on the street so they can find it in the morning. You're kind of a zealous brother. But I look at your eyes and I see your words and I see you still got the power of suggestion. That's not a part of the Ruach of Yahuwah and the Torah seed to germinate and water with His love to get you convinced in the right ruling. Let's go to the last scripture. Ephesians chapter 5. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1. We saw the fruit of the Ruach HaKodesh. I want you from Galatians 6. I want you to read it in chapter 5. I want you to do homework and study it. The bad fruit, the good fruit. We want to operate in the Ruach of Yahuwah, of the fruit of the Ruach HaKodesh. And I don't use the pagan words. Oh, excuse me, I went there on the wrong pipe. Good cheat. I don't use them. When I wake up in the morning, I pray for the fruit of the Ruach HaKodesh. I say, I want love, ahab, from the Father. I want kasid for the people. I want kara. I don't use the word joy. I use simka or kara. I want shalom. I want long suffering, arak. I want gentleness, anava. I want tobness. I want kasid. I want emunah. I want emunah. I want anava, meekness. I want temperance. I don't even say the pagan words in the King James fruit of the. If you start saying the fruit of the HS and read it in the pagan words, guess what you're going to get? Exactly what you prayed for. You're going to get the fruit of the pagan words. Okay, so we have to say the right words in the Hebrew, even the Greek, and with the English translation, you can find some clean words, and you pray the fruit of the Ruach HaKodesh on you. When you put the fruit of the Ruach HaKodesh in you, what happens is He creates a balance in you that if He'll show you and look in the perfect Torah mirror of freedom, not libertarius, not the goddess liberty, but freedom and understanding, that you would see as you daily walk the things you need to pluck. When I had my fruit trees, there was some fruit I had to pluck, smash, use it as dung for the manure of my tree, but I would pull it out so the other good fruit of the tree would come out delicious and without any disease. Ephesians chapter 5 verse 1. Become the imitators of Elohim, or Elohim, as beloved children, and walk in love as Mashiach also has loved us and gave Himself for us, a gift and an offering of Elohim, or Elohim, for a sweet smelling fragrance. But whoring, all uncleanness, greed of gain, oh man, let it not even be named among you, as is proper among the Kodeshim, or they call it set apart one, some translation. I use the Hebrew word Kodeshim. Verse 4, neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor coarse, nor jesting, which are not fitting, but rather thanksgiving. For this you know, that no one who whores or an unclean one, and nor one greedy of gain, who is an idler, has any inheritance in the reign of Mashiach Elohim. Let no one deceive you with empty words. But for because of these, the wrath of Elohim comes upon the sons of disobedience. Therefore, do not become partakers with them. For you were once in darkness, but now you are in the light of the Torah, in Yahuwah. It's not master, it's supposed to be Yahuwah. Walk as children of light. For the fruit of the Ruach is in all goodness, righteousness, truth, proving what is well pleasing to Yahuwah, and having no fellowship with the fruitless works of darkness, but rather convict them. For it is a shame even to speak of what is done by them in secret. But all matters, being convicted, are manifested by the light. For whatsoever is manifested is light. Verse 14. That is why he says, wake up, you who sleep, and arise from the dead, and Mashiach shall shine on you. See then that you walk exactly, not as somebody that is without prudence and understanding, but as Chokmah, or prudence and understanding. Redeeming the time, because the days are wicked. So then, verse 17, do not be foolish, but understand what the desire of Yahuwah is, and do not be drunk with wine, in which is loose behavior, but be filled with the Ruach of Yahuwah, speaking to each other in psalms and songs, and songs of praise and spiritual songs, singing and striking the strings in your heart to Yahuwah, giving thanks always for all to Elohim, or Elohim, Yahuwah, in the Shem of our Yahushua Mashiach. Subject yourself to each other in the reverence of Elohim. I use the word reverence because that's the proper word instead of fear. Fear is the name of a demon in Greek, phobias, and you want to have reverence, not fear. You want to have reverence toward Him. So with this understanding, and also in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 14, just turn the page back, and it looks at chapter 4, verse 14, and it says this. Ephesium, so that we should no longer be children tossed and borne about to every wind of teaching by the trickery of men and cleverness unto craftiness of leading astray, but maintain the truth in love. We grow up in all respect into Him who is the head, Mashiach. So no more craftiness. And there's another list we're not going to turn to in Romans. Do some homework. Romans chapter 1, starting chapter 1, verse 1, but you could skip a little bit to 22, 29, and read all the way to the end of another list of envy, deceit, whispers, backbiters. This is going on, man. People get on these phone conference calls, then they hang up, call each other, start backbiting, whispering on each other. All this stupidity, man. You know, I'm glad I'm an ex-con. I'm glad I did time. We don't say nothing but somebody's face. We do it in their face. You know, and then this person could dispute, or we could pull the knives and go down. That's what we used to do. Or we could dispute with one another and say, you know what, I misunderstood you, bro. Excuse me, home. I'm sorry, bro. I didn't say that. That other guy added words. If you want to still fight, we'll fight. But you know what? That was an accident. Forgive me, bro. And even though they're all killers, they respect each other with a proper protocol. They don't go around whispering and backbiting. That'll get somebody killed in a minute. How many of you know you can kill people's character? You could kill people's integrity. You could kill people's a type of reputation they're trying to build up in Yahuwah by doing all this stupid whispering and backbiting and never calling them up. Did you really mean this? Did you really mean that? Okay, I want to clarify it. Or, you know what, I misunderstood you. I'm sorry. So, we need to start having a better protocol in the house of Yahuwah. We need to have a better understanding. The Hebrew people, when I lived in Israel, they understand this type of pecking order, protocol, right ruling. They understand it, okay? They know this character. But in the house of Israel, we come out of all these Catholic parishes called denominations of Christianity, New Age and everything else. We don't understand the characteristics of the right ruling of brother. You see, as an Israelite, I can't execute my brother because he's Jewish, because he's Benjamin, because he's Ephraim. We're all under the house of Israel. We can't separate. We're part of the body. You know what I mean? So I have to work it out with my brother and get along properly according to Torah. Even if he doesn't hear it, you have a time to share in love and prayer. I hope you got something out of this. I want you to blog me. I want you to email me. If you got something out of it, you need to share it with somebody. Share it to some of the people of the internet transplants, all the different people that are out there. They're trying to get the right ruling. I don't say I know everything, but I know this. When I went to live in Israel, I got to mingle and be with people. I didn't just learn Hebrew, certain Hebrew words. I know what the word hammer, screwdriver, glass, wood, words of common knowledge. I'm working with a carpenter friend that was an ex-Polish rabbi that believes in Yahushua. So it's like I got to be around people right to the root or right behind the scenes. Okay, with dentists, with doctors, with cooks, with even a guy that was an engineer equivalent to JPL in the United States, and hear other words and other understanding and watch their character and personality. They'll put the followers of Yah to shame, even though they might not have the right ruling in as far as following the whole Torah with the Mashiach like we do. But when it comes to character building, they start when they're very young. They don't have all that garbage from Christian schools. They don't have all that garbage from public schools because there ain't no public schools in Jerusalem. Everything's done through the Shivas, the Mishnah, the different Shavuls, the money is funneled in that each synagogue will teach their children all the adult basic education in high school. And then if they want to go to college or go to the military and learn more, they can go from there. So they got better understanding in characteristics, a personality of understanding of education, which is not learned in our public schools or even in the Christian schools of our past. I love you. Bear with me with this. Study it again. I'm sharing this in love. It was hard to share it, but it needs to be shared because we need correction in the house of Yahuwah. We need order, we need protocol, and we need new unity. And I send you off. May Yahuwah baruch you. May His face shine upon you. May His light of His covenant overshadow you. And may you have a prosperous Berekot Shabbat. Amen and Amen and Amen.